Hello everyone, welcome back for another podcast. So just a bit of housekeeping. For those of you that missed it, I did actually put out a video on this little guy here. This is a beech mallet. Been putting it through its paces the last couple of days. So there's a video there if you are interested in watching it. So about an hour ago, I did actually finish up these winding sticks. So ironically, I personally think anyone with or rather that's using hand tools should have a set of these. This is the first set I've ever built. This is the first set I've ever owned, very shamefully. So it took us a very long time to make them. Really simple to make. I'm really happy with how they turned out. I'm not overly happy with the dowel section there. There was a little bit of tear out, but I really like how the inlay turned out. I think it's a lovely contrast. So these are walnuts and that's actually just spruce. So it is a section of tongue and groove cladding. That's all it is. And I think it goes really well together. I really like the contrast. So there will be a build video for these. It should be released on Saturday. So if you're watching this on Sunday, it should have been released yesterday. So if you are interested, go check it out. So today I'm going to talk about my top tools, what I use for making chairs. So everything you see on the workbench, I use to make chairs, any chairs I've made in the past, all my Roman workbenches. So in between everything, because I'm bouncing around, I'm trying to get some content produced and get it uploaded and whatnot. I am actually building a set of dining chairs. I say a set of dining chairs, it's only two because I do already have a bench and I'm going to keep the bench for now at least. So pretty much all I've got done in between everything. I've got the seat done to a degree, obviously it still needs to be shaped correctly and whatever else. But I have got the 4 holes drilled, 2 of them are reamed out. And I have got 3 of the legs roughly shaped, or all I've got some of the material taken away, basically the corners. So these are going to be turned into a bulb-like leg rather than your typical hexagonal Welsh stick chair. So I wanted to go through some of the tools that I use. Some of them I use all of the time when I'm building chairs or even my Roman workbenches. It's all the same type of joinery, staked joinery. So some of them shine and I wouldn't be without them, and some of them I think are a little bit overhyped, me personally, but some of them I haven't used to the full potential. So I am going to go over them. A few obvious ones that you've probably seen online on Instagram and stuff like that. So I'm going to start off with a travisher. So this travisher I got from Windsor Workshop. So James is a very accomplished Windsor chair maker. Obviously he does make other styles of chairs. And from time to time, he does actually make a batch of these. I do believe he's using some sort of other material now other than wood, but at the time he was using wood. So I bought myself one of these. This is absolutely awesome. People use scopes. I do have a scope. I don't know where it is. I think it might be around at my mother's. But I do have a scope. I've never ever used it. Never ever had the need to use it. Simply because I have this travisher. So from my understanding, I'm not a chair maker and You know, there's a lot more people out there that have got like more experience than myself. But from what I gather, a scope was used to rough out a chair seat, you know, to get the whatever you may be doing. You may be doing an arch or a full-on saddle, and then you come along and you finish up with one of these guys, and then you may use like a card scrape or something like that. So what I found with this is that you can hog a lot of material off with this, like, you know, a lot, like a silly amount of material. So when I've seen things online, people using scopes, comparing it to what I've actually done with this, it's, to me at least, it seems that you're able to hog off more material with this than the scope. So that makes my life a little bit easier. So I'm sure pretty much everybody wants to make their life easier. So like I say, I've never ever used a scope. So this travisher is worth its weight in gold, for me at least. There is, however, a couple of things I'm not overly keen on, and that's the way it's set. There is a couple of Allen keys in here, Allen key screws, and they just tighten up the two teeth, if you will, that come through. You know, you get it set, tap it with a hammer and cinch it. It's not the be all end all, but I'm not like overly fond of it. And another thing I don't like is that this takes more time to sharpen and it's harder to sharpen because obviously it's a rounded curve. I mean, same again, that's not the be all end all, and it is personal preference. I just think for me, it just takes me a little bit longer to do it. It's a little bit more faff on, where I'm pretty sure James at the Windsor Workshop can probably sharpen one of these just as quick as I can sharpen Bailey's number 4. Next up is a tenon cutter. So this is a Veritas tenon cutter. I actually have 2 of these. I have the 3/8 and the 5/8. I actually thought this was a 1/2 inch for some reason. Anyway, these have been used on pretty much all of me builds. Every single build I've ever done, I think pretty much they've been used. They are really good. They can be a little bit taxing on the hand, and they can be a little bit awkward to sharpen and set back up again. You are actually able to adjust the angle of the blade, which will give you a different angle of the tenons. Basically same sort of thing. It's like an Allen key. You know, you just loosen them off, put it where you want it, cinch them up. You can actually make dowels with these. They're not just for tenon cutters. So if I'm making a lot of dowels, I probably will just end up using these. You know, they're nice and quick. So I did buy a Ray Eels one. I think this is, what's this? This is a 5/8 one. So it is the same size as this one. The reason I bought this was because it's got the 2 handles. So you can imagine that if you've got your conical tenon roughly shaped rather, you've used maybe a Drawknife, a spokeshave, and you're getting quite close now. You just put this guy on and start twisting it. As I said before, it can really be taxing on the hand, depending on what type of timber you're using as well. The last build I'd done, the last table build, I used beech for the legs, and it was absolutely, you know, it was a pure mission to actually try and turn these because the beech is so tough, it's so hard. So I did actually struggle with this. In hindsight, I probably should have used this. I don't actually think this is a matching angle, is it, or isn't it? This is slightly a different angle to to the reamer I have, and I've only got the one reamer, so I could possibly maybe have a little mess around with the adjustments, because this can be adjusted as well, and I might be able to get like a decent you know, sort of setting where it's quite close to the angle of this. I don't even know the angle of this. So while I've got the reamer in my hand, this is a Veritas reamer. Before I bought this Veritas reamer, I did actually try to get a wooden hand-built one. At the time, I don't believe I had the money to basically splash out. You know, you get a lot of these tool makers on Instagram who I follow, and they make beautiful tools, but at that time I just didn't have the money to pay, which is unfortunate because there's some beautiful tools out there. So instead, I went for this. I understand now that this is pretty expensive. I was talking to somebody, it was just over comments, it might have been on YouTube or Instagram, I can't quite remember now. And I'm sure somebody was saying these were like 80 bucks. So that's a lot of money for something so small. So, you know, Veritas, you need to kind of drop your prices. It's a great bit of kit, but it's a bit too expensive, I think personally, if it is 80 bucks. I've never actually fact checked that, so I might be wrong. So all this does, for those of you that don't know, it basically matches the angle of the tenons, like you're cutting. So a conical tenons, again, for those of you that don't know, pretty much that's a conical tenons. It's conical in the fact that it's pointing similar to a triangle, but it's conical. So that basically matches the angle of this, which means that if you use this to cut a conical tenons, when you ream the hole out, the hole will match, or rather the hole will match the tenon, and it'll be a nice good fit. But while I'm discussing the conical tenons and such, this what I have in my hands is a piece of oak. It's square. I think it's maybe, I don't know, maybe 40 millimeters squared. So I use this all the time. I don't know if you could call it a tool or a template, but I use it all the time. So basically what this allows us to do when I'm actually reaming a hole, I'll ream the hole and I'll try to get my angle. So when I ream holes or drill any holes, I don't use any lasers, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea, to be honest. Maybe I should look into getting some. But up to now, every single bench, every single chair I've made, I've never used lasers. Not that I'm against them, it's just never happened. So one of the issues we use in this Veritas reamer is that when it's in the brace and bit, or the brace rather, there's not a lot for us to reference, like on a straight edge. So the front legs, these are going to be the front legs, what you can see on camera. So they're actually tilted at 15 degrees going back. So the issue that I have is that when I am reaming this, I haven't really got a lot to gauge, because obviously you've got the shape of the reamer, and then you've got the shape of the nuts where it tightens up. So that's all kind of all over the place. There's not a lot of straight edge where I can gauge it. I do believe you can buy an extension that would fit this, but same again, I've never bought one. I've never come across one. So what I'll do, I'll start reaming, and I'll just, you know, every say 10 turns, if that's maybe 5, 7 turns, I'll just put this in, give it a little tap and see where I am. So what I would be using, is a sliding bevel. So again, the sliding bevel, it's not really a chair maker's tool, but I really like it. I use it, again, every single chair, anything I've done this sort of construction, this bevel's been used, this sliding bevel. It's actually a Marples. This was purchased on the flea market. I think it was about £1 on the flea market. So as I was saying, for the front legs, it was set at 15 degrees. That's quite a common angle for me, 15 degrees. So I line this up with a sight line. So this is a sight line, and I basically put that on. That's 15 degrees. So like I said, I go backwards and forwards with the reamer, and I can get it pretty close like that. It's usually quite, you know, cock on if I take my time with it. But if you do rush it and you get a little bit gung-ho, you sometimes find you can take too much off. So you do have to be a little bit careful with this method. But as I said, this is the kind of method that I've used for a very long time. So the axe, the humble axe. So this is a Ray Eels. I got this a number of years ago. I don't particularly use it a great deal. I do actually need to rework the handle. I don't like how wide the handle is. It's way too wide. It needs to be slimmed right down quite a lot. But the axe can come in handy depending on what I'm doing. In the past, I have used it to remove some material from legs. You know, if I'm doing some sort of a taper with legs, you know, I might come in, you know, depending on the type of wood it is. You know, these can work pretty well with oak. There is other woods to work well with, but the likes of beech, it ain't doing a lot with beech. Beech is so hard. Another thing I find myself doing with an axe, if I am splitting wood for, just say for legs, I tend to use this rather than the frow. I just find I've normally got it to hand anyway, so it is pretty good for that. I mean, it's one of those tools where I don't use it a great deal, but when you need it, you know, it's good to have one, sort of thing. I don't think it's necessary per se. Again, it depends on how you woodwork, and it depends on if you're making chairs or you plan to make chairs. You know, you could get an axe and you could use that for splitting rather than going out to buy a frow, which I actually did. So when we're talking about the frow, this is a frow. So basically, what a frow does, for those of you that don't know, you would actually put this onto the piece of timber and have a mallet, and basically you hit this into the wood and it splits the wood for you. This typically is used in green woodworking, which, again, for those of you that don't know, the tree's been you know, cut down. It's not fully dried yet. It hasn't been put into a kiln, or it hasn't been left to air dry. You know, so using one of these is a lot easier with green wood. So I have used this to split kiln dried, believe it or not. Oak, depending on how the grain is, oak will split reasonably, even though it has been kiln dried. Obviously I have done it with this. So another thing that this is used for, that I've got no experience with, and I hope to sometime in the future, is actually splitting lengths of wood. So I believe this was typically used for splitting the likes of oak and such for Windsor chairs. So if we've got a continuous Windsor chair arm, this would be hit in, and you would basically tap it in, and keep working the way down. And sometimes the grain might run off one way, or the grain might run off the other way as you're splitting the wood down. So when it's doing that, basically, depending on which way the grain's splitting, you use the handle to manipulate the grain. So as you're going down, you might want to twist it up, or if the grain's running the other way, you might want to twist it down. Again, I've got no experience in this, but if you watch some chair makers that have obviously got a lot of experience using one of these, it's something to watch, the way they can just manipulate that grain and get all the way down. It's a real eye opener when you watch them using this. I think probably for the average person like myself, you probably don't need to go out and get one of these. Although it's one of those things, again, should you ever need it and you've already got it, you know, it's one of those. But I haven't really used it a great deal, to be honest with you. Up next, the unsung hero. So this is a brace, and I have the bits. I don't have a massive amount of bits. I don't really use a massive amount of bits. So this was another flea market find. I think I paid like about £1 for this as well. Can you believe it, £1? It's crazy, isn't it? Ironically, these get a lot of flack. Well, I was going to say I don't know why they get a lot of flack. I actually do know why they get a lot of flack. Because people get the bits, and the bits are blunt and damaged, and then they try to use them and they don't cut very well, and they think that's rubbish. Whereas the truth be known, if you've got a bit that isn't damaged and it's sharp, it'll go through oak or even beech quite quickly. Even sometimes it'll go through better than a drill. Let's just say, you know, like your average cordless drill with maybe a spade bit in. So these aren't to be shunned. I wouldn't be without one. Don't get us wrong, I've got an electric drill, I do use it, but I think personally this is better for doing the likes of chair building, simply because it's not as fast as a drill. So if you've got a drill, even if it's on a slow setting, it will tend to go through the material quicker than what you can control with a brace and bit. Another thing I like about the brace and bit is that when it's in the brace, the bit, you're actually able to, you know, get a good eye. You're actually able to get a good eye of kind of, you know, the sort of angle that you're drilling at, which obviously you want when you're doing stuff like this. And you can just go, you can, you know, you can maybe give it half a turn, you can give it a couple of turns, and then you can stop. There's a great amount of control with a brace and bit when you're making benches or chairs, anything that's like conical tenon construction, even tables. I personally think you're better off using a brace and bit if you've got one to hand. It's just going to allow you more control. Something else that I use a lot when I'm making chairs, I use this speed square. So this speed square, I think it's pretty much seen nearly all of the builds I've done. One of the good things I like about this, or two good things I like about this, or three, let's just say three. This one's made of aluminium. It's going to take it a lot for it to lose its square. So this can be dropped, not that I'm telling you to throw it about or anything, but it can be dropped and I don't have to worry about it. Whereas if I drop this little guy, this is a combination square, so if I drop this little guy, there is a chance I can knock it out the square. So as much as I do like combination squares, and I do like them a lot, I ain't got that to worry about with this one. Another thing I like about it is that it's freestanding, and it is actually quite steady even when the wind's blowing. A lot of my builds have been outside, and it does actually fare quite well in the wind. Another thing I use this for is finding angles or setting angles. So you probably cannot see on the chair, or the bottom of the chair, that is, chair seat, there's you've got all my sight lines and everything. All the sight lines were drawn primarily with this. So I use this in two ways. Sometimes if I'm being lazy, I'll get me angle, whatever that may be. You know, let's just say 30 degrees, and I'll put a straight edge along, and I'll strike my line. Second way I'll do this is I'll find my angle, draw a line, and I use that as a reference to set me sliding bevel. Again, it's not intended for making chairs. I just think it's super handy when you're all making chairs. So going back to using this guy, I don't particularly need to. I don't mean to sound cocky, but I don't need to worry about going left and right. I've done it so many times that the left and right plane when I'm drilling, it's never far wrong. You know, I've just had so much practice in doing it. So obviously, where I do struggle, because I can't gauge it properly, just the way my body position is going back and towards myself. So anyone that is kind of like not confident in doing this, you're obviously going to have to use something like this, the bevel. But another good thing is that you can actually put the square there, and because it's got the wide base for it to stand up, it's actually quite good in that respect for people. Next up is a draw knife. I like to use a draw knife. A draw knife will hog off a lot of material very quickly on chair legs, spindles, things like that. I'm usually using this on the Roman workbench. My Roman workbench has a shave horse attachment. So as I said, these are really good to hog off a lot of material quickly. It can get you pretty close. Once I do get close with that, I do use my spokeshave. So same again, you know, there's probably a lot of people that don't associate spokeshaves with chair building or bench building, any sort of conical tenon building, but I always use a spokeshave when I'm building anything like this. For me, it's invaluable. And get you into nice, you know, nice tight corners. You know, uneven surfaces, because the sole's so little, it will still take a shaving. They do take a bit of getting used to if you've never used a spoke shave or you don't use one that often. So a couple of tips while I'm at it. If you are using one of these, you can push with it. You can also pull with it. So when you are using it, if you're getting tram lines like stuttering, make sure that the sole's well lubricated. I use 3-in-1 oil, and actually have it on a skew, so you know, maybe about 45 degrees rather than having it like a straight 90 degrees. 45 degrees. If you do the two of them, you should have very little problem. Depending on the type of wood and how the grain's behaving, you will have to keep it lubricated, you know, maybe every 10 strokes, 15 strokes, you may have to just swipe it over the oily rag and go again. But as I said, definitely this would be in me top 5, definitely. So last up, and they do deserve a mention, card scrapers. There is a card scraper called a Chair Devil. I've never made one, I've never owned one, I probably won't. Simple reason is that just a square or oblong, if you will, a rectangle card scraper. This is all I ever used to finish up with legs and spindles and stuff. It just takes a nice fine shaving. You get into a bit of a rhythm and you can, like, you know, finish up a chair leg really quickly with one of these, like a bulb type leg. I find this invaluable for things like that. So with the rounded card scraper, ironically, it's actually got a bit of rust on it, this surface rust. This only gets used and has only been used on the seat saddle. That's the only time I've ever used this. You know, same again, it's one of those things where I don't use it a lot, but when I need to use it and I've got it and it's there, it's super handy. Obviously, if you go to the full extent of putting a full saddle in, this is it's just going to get into all those curves and it's going to give you a really nice finish. So, you know, if you're able to get one of these and you're kind of going to like build a chair, I would definitely recommend doing that. So those are my tools that I use. Probably is some other stuff I use. Obviously, I do like to use my room and workbench when I'm building. Even though I've got the tall bench, if my back lets us, I would happily be on the room and workbench building the chairs, which I am in the middle of shooting the video for it, doing little bits and bobs, but you will see us outside on the room and workbench. Simply because I just find it easier and better, especially when I'm drilling. I'm able to sight everything better. I get better results when I'm kneeling on top of the work, when I'm drilling or reaming. So it has got the ability to turn into a shave horse, and I can use this fella, you know, to remove a lot of material quickly. So I may as well mention it. For those of you that are interested, there is actually a free ebook with the Roman Workbench. There's no sign up, it doesn't cost you a thing. Click the link and then you'll read it or download it, and that's it. As I said, a Roman Workbench, at least for me, is a very handy piece of kit to have when you are doing chairs and stuff. So that's it for today, guys. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. If you want to help support the channel, give us a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed, I really appreciate it. It does help us out. If you could do that, it would be awesome. Until the next time, I shall see and speak to you guys later.